Welcome to the Nürburgring, the largest racetrack in the world, but also a place where a lot of big boys try to measure and compare and brag about who has the longest. Yesterday, Lamborghini has released a video where they brag about a staggering lap time of 6 minutes 52 on the Nürburgring. And like every lap record, this was met by a huge round of applause, but also raised some eyebrows and questions. Porsche currently has, or should I by now say had, the lap record on the Nürburgring of the fastest production car of 6 minutes 57 seconds. Now, to shave off 5 whole seconds of that lap time is quite an achievement. But what's even more impressive is the non-Performante version of the Huracán did a lap time of 7 minutes 28 seconds. That means that by adding a few mods, to increasing horsepower, lowering the weight slightly, adding some aerodynamics, they lowered the lap time by a whole 36 seconds. Now, this is not only quite an achievement, but in terms of Nürburgring, I would say quite impossible. And going back to those mods, we can clearly see that the car on the video is equipped with a roll cage, and because of that, that kind of makes me and a lot of other people wonder, aren't there any more mods installed to the car that are not going to be on the final production version of the car, that are just there for the safety reasons? And what kind of tires is the car running? But I'm not gonna talk about the possibilities and probabilities, but about the facts. Well, and since everyone is using 919's lap time as a reference, and for obvious reasons, and also since a lot of fanboys are bashing Porsche by saying Lamborghini is so much better than Porsche without using hybrid technology. Yeah, could you please remind me when Lamborghini has won the 24 hours of Nürburgring or Le Mans or Dubai or any other motorsports event in the world in the last, like, what, 50 years? But yeah, let's skip that. I wanted to find out why the Performante was so much faster on the Nürburgring than 918, so I did the least thing I could do, and that is comparing two onboard footages. So I grabbed the onboard video of Performante released by Lamborghini yesterday and the 918. But first, before we start with comparing those two onboard footages, there are two very important things that you have to know. This particular onboard footage of the lap of the 918 actually shows the 7-minute lap instead of the record-winning 6 minutes 57. So you could argue that the values that I'm going to present to you are actually slower than it could have been with in optimal conditions. That was the case with the 6 minutes 57 lap. The second, the most important thing, the lap record of the 918 was done in 2013, and every year the track is changing. They improve the track safety regulations. So for example, here for 2017 they improve this section of Brunchen. So a lot of things have changed on the Nürburgring since the 918's lap record of 2013. One of the most prominent changes was in 2016, where they made the track section of Flugplatz a lot more safer, but because of that, every car could technically go a lot faster than previously was the case, which is also the case of Performante versus 2013 record of the 918. But yeah, let's have a look at those two onboard footages and see what we can find out. What I basically did is comparing both videos frame by frame and measuring the highest top speed of a sector and the lowest corner or apex speed of the same sector. I will not include every section of the track in this review because that would make this video way too long, but you can have a look at my simple Excel sheet that I have created. You can find it in the description of this video and compare the results for yourself. So let's start with the very beginning of the lap, and we can immediately see that 918's top speed on T13 section is 32 km an hour faster. The 918 does 170 km an hour while Huracán tops 138. The lowest corner speed is almost the same, with 2 km an hour advantage for the Performante. The next noticeable difference we can see on longer straights at Quedelbacher and Schwedenkreuz. On both sections, 918 reaches 266 km an hour and 204 km an hour respectively. The Lambo is in both cases 24 km an hour slower than the 918. But the most remarkable thing is the Flugplatz section, where both cars have the same minimal speed even after the track changes of 2016. There are of course some sections where Performante is having better top speed than 918. For example, the Performante does not brake at Lauda links, thereby going 12 km an hour faster than 918. But don't forget that this particular footage of 918 is 3 seconds slower than its actual record time. To conclude this part about time differences, have a look at the Excel sheet that I have created, and you will see that 918 is faster in 42 cases that are marked in green, slower in 21 that are marked in red, and equal in 20 that are white. Also, please notice that the positive values are a lot higher than the negatives. The second important point I want to bring up, you can find at 4 minutes 28 seconds of the Huracán lap time, and have a look at what happens. The car is losing speed, and after 131 km an hour it jumps to 160 and to 190 in just 2 frames or 0.08 seconds if we should believe the timer. Now, you could argue that it's just a GPS speedometer failure, but then again there are plenty of counter arguments that some manufacturers claim their lap times by adding up the fastest sectors rather than doing one fast lap. And if we would assume that it is also the case of the Huracán, then we could ask the question whether those shadows over here move not a bit too much for just 0.08 seconds. Also, please have a look at this picture that shows this particular section on the track and also the sun movement during the day. And finally, have a look at the numbers at Döttinghohe, or the main straight of the Nürburgring. Let's take the gantry as a first reference point. The 918 passes the gantry at 6 minutes 16 seconds and 88 milliseconds of its lap time while doing 255 km an hour. The Huracán reaches the gantry at 6 minutes 10 seconds and 66 milliseconds of its lap time while going 244 km an hour. This is 11 km an hour slower than the 918. As a second reference point, I picked the sign right before the TF exit, which the 918 passes at 6 minutes 29 seconds and the Huracán at 6 minutes and 22 seconds. To simplify the issue, the 918 covers the same distance at 12.1 seconds while having a higher entry and end speed. However, it takes the Huracán over half a second less to cover the same distance visually, but with a lower entry and exit speed of 244 and 290 km an hour. How can a car go faster while going slower? Maybe by speeding up the video slightly? Do you want some additional food for thought? Please add Aventador S on board for comparison. The Huracán Performante is without a doubt a fast car, but I highly doubt it is faster than 918 around the ring. Please let me know your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button for daily Nürburgring content.